Hi, everyone. Good evening. I got Diamond Lil with us tonight, Mountain Man, and EOT. I hope everybody's doing well on this Saturday evening. We don't want to hear me. My phone just kicked in.
Oh,
So we really don't have anything. I don't have anything to bring you guys tonight. I don't have the goods tonight, but we thought we'd just do a little chit chat and with you guys and see where it goes. So, welcome everyone. How's everybody doing?
Hi, everyone.
hello.
Hi, everybody. I got a little bit of news. I got some articles I was going to build for Sunday, but I could talk about it. Pope Francis.
Pope Francis.
He's the one that's been in charge since Pope Benedict stepped down. Yeah.
You cut out.
Remember when can you hear me?
Yeah, you just cut out for a minute.
When Pope Benedict passed away, right after he passed away, he let out that letter about inappropriate things happening in the church, if you know what I mean. Remember, I covered that in one of my broadcasts?
Yeah.
And so anyway, then he came out with, Pope Francis came out and said, well, HOMOS S3X is not a sin. And that caused an uproar. Remember that? Well, he's come out with something else.
Uh-oh.
Great.
Well,
no.
I don't know what to make of it. Pope Francis says, GENDER, all right, ideology is one of the most dangerous ideological colonizations. Why is it dangerous? This is a quote. Because it blurs the differences and the value of men and women. So he's coming out against the TRANNY movement.
Wow.
At least that's something. Now, I have no doubt in my mind what a Pope Benedict would have said about it. He was God's Rottweiler.
Wasn't he just for that not too long ago?
No, he was talking about what Benedict wrote about that was released after his passing. Was that he was saying that the church had a problem with HOMO. I don't mean anything to do with your health plan. What do they call it?
Yeah.
Then he's talking about
the HMO.
Yeah, talking about bath parties and
Right.
So anyway, and that's when Francis said, "Well, that's not really a sin," and he didn't say anything that I'm aware of about the TRANNY movement until now.
So, do you think
but I'll just say one more thing before you guys comment on it, is that he says it's dangerous, but he did not delineate it as whether or not it was a sin. That was interesting. Maybe an expanded quote he did, but I think it's important.
I just have to say something real quick. I'm sorry, off topic. Robin Ward, I am so sorry. She said she lost her mom today.
Oh my goodness, Robin.
I just saw that. Yes.
I'm so
Robin,
sorry, Robin.
I've got you on my prayer list, right at the top of my prayer list for my show in the morning. We'll say prayers for you and your mom and your family. I'm sorry.
Love you, Robin. I'm so sorry.
I know. You spent so much time with her. Remember we were talking before. You know how spend as much time as you can.
Yes. Yes.
I know.
And she
I know
did.
what it
Robin
feels
was
like,
with her a
Robin.
lot. Robin was with her a lot.
Yeah, she said she was ready to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, Robin, but it doesn't make it feel any better for the ones that are left behind, though. And God bless her, and I hope she's welcomed into the Lord's kingdom. And sorry about that.
Well, I tell you, with my mother, I was selfish. I was selfish, and I had to, I didn't want to lose her. Nobody wants to lose a parent.
No.
But they tell you, are you doing things for a person or to a person? You don't want to extend it out past where they want to be.
I always say that moms are the glue to the family.
Yep. I called my mom the backbone.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry for your loss, Robin. Back to Pope Francis. So what do you make of this, Mountain Man? Diamond, EOT, what do you guys make of this? What Mountain Man just shared with us? Do you think he's doing it for the right reasons, saying this stuff?
He's a liar.
Okay.
I don't believe anything that man says. If
Yeah,
he says one thing, do think the opposite.
He didn't give a biblical opinion in I just said what he said was dangerous. He didn't say sinful, wrong in the eyes of God or anything like that. Maybe he did later on. Maybe he will later on. I don't know. But until he just says that, he's just saying what 90% of the world thinks.
I'm going to say some hellos, you guys. We got a lot of people in here. You guys want to help me?
Sure.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, yes.
Wolfpack 6, thanks for joining us.
Got Mike Mazza.
Mm-hmm. John Dunning, good to see you.
Hell, Griswold. She said hi.
Liz Grizz, love you, girl. Joan Harding, good to see you.
Sharon and Bubba. Mike, Nick's Creations, Kim.
B-Dog.
B. Mitch.
Stephen Burhouse.
Patrick Kick the Can. That's a new name. Welcome.
Linda Marie.
2 blocks.
Sharon Mercier. Hello.
Brittany N. B. Charming. Go ahead.
Hiram Carr. Jamie Boberski. Hello.
Diane B. B. Mitch.
Wilma Travail.
Patriot Kick the Can.
Hey, be charming.
Michael Hawkins. Hello. Ingrid Rubio. Hello.
Hey, Dallas.
Happy days.
Linda Kirksky.
Monday, Tuesday.
Happy days. Debbie King. Outlandish Patriot.
Hi, Mary. Mary Freeland. And Zan.
Mary Freeland, you never answered us this morning. Who's supposed to be speaking on Monday in DC? Can you fill us in?
Well, Congress around, they'll all be speaking.
Well, supposedly the National Guard's been called out to DC. I'm just going by with what was said in Diamond's chat this morning.
Yeah, I have a friend
I was going to ask, what did you think of the military being called? Some of the people that had just gotten out of the military have now been called back to Washington, D.C. was the place they're supposed to report to. And it was within 72 hours, and that was on Wednesday.
Have you heard anything about that, Mountain Man?
I heard from a friend of mine whose son works security at a federal building that they were called in. They were supposed to have a period of days off, and that was cut short. And the son does not talk and very much. And just that his affect was serious and she was concerned. So I don't know.
Okay. Hi, Michelle Books, Maggie Lass, John McLaughlin. So the mom was concerned? Is that what you mean, Mountain Man?
Well, aren't they always?
Yes, of
But
course.
yeah, he had to go back early, and he just seemed kind of maybe not serious, but putting on his game face, so to speak. Maybe that's just part of the process when you got to go back to work in that kind of a situation. I don't know, but
Mary Freeland says
she'd
Nikki,
be
it's a man
worried.
with a last name that starts with a C. I have never heard his name before. So a man with
Who's that?
the man that's supposed to be speaking in DC on Monday. Hi, Diane Wood.
Linda Marie says things are happening. Newsom stepped down. California can only get better. So
What?
I haven't heard that he stepped down. Linda Marie is saying that Newsom has stepped down.
That's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either.
Well, this business of this talk about the Sinaloa cartel in Arizona, I think it's going to snowball. It's going to snowball.
What's going to snowball, Mountain Man? I'm sorry, I missed
That talk about the Sinaloa cartel influencing politics in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's going to snowball, I think.
I read somewhere just a minute ago that Carrie Lake's being sued or something.
Carrie Lake disclosed that she had somebody come to her door, and I'm sure she'll say who it was too. Knocked on her door and offered her whatever she wanted to get out, just stay out of politics till 2024. Did you all see her make that statement?
I did not.
Yeah,
No.
According to Carrie Lake, she said they had the nerve come to my house. I almost sicked my dogs on them.
I wish she would have.
She said this person said that they could arrange for her to have whatever, name her price. We only need you to stay out of it till 2024. Stay out of all politics till 2024, and you name your price.
Is that our money? that's her price she's naming?
Oh, it's all our money. Of course it is.
Makes me sick.
But no, they were trying to bribe her. So I'm sure
she will never.
The necessary authorities know who it is, know who approached her. And that was right after people were breaking the news that Katie Hobbs was involved with the Sinaloa cartel with fake deeds to properties. And also Kristen Sinema had fake deeds and mortgages to property to cover up money laundering. I always said I never trusted Kristen Sinema. She got in there on a crooked, because that's a red state.
TJ Katz is saying, I saw on Truth a letter sent to the president for help for California flooding. It was signed by an acting governor. Interesting.
That's interesting. Well, this Sinaloa stuff that Arizona is right there. You know, we're talking. You know, it's not like, oh, gee, we can't go across the border as Sinaloa cartel. We cannot go across the Arizona border to bribe politicians. We'll get in trouble. No, they'll bribe whoever's on a border governor if they can get away with it. So, I had this about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I was really on my high horse. I was upset because back in 1985, this is going to sound boring, but it's not. 1985, there was a DEA agent that got kidnapped by the Sinaloa cartel. And he got brutalized and the red rummed, you know. And they filmed it. and it was too gruesome for me to even get into. And I didn't want to bring it up because I don't want people to search the web and stuff out of respect for him and his family. It's enough to know that we lost a DEA agent, and that he was inhumanly treated, not inhumanely, inhumanly treated. And so Ronald Reagan was president. And when they started investigating and finding out, putting two and two together, that it was a drug cartel, Reagan shut down the border with Mexico. He said, I want them. I want whoever did this. And nobody's coming across that border. No trucks, no trade, no people, nothing. And he shut the border down. Well, don't you know, they got on the stick. Played games, but they did finally get this so-called kingpin. And it took a long time. But I said, well, good, that's good. Now I know a little bit about the custom agents of Border Patrol, and it was a personal thing for a lot of people. Well, this guy, unbeknownst to a lot of people, got let out of jail. I believe during the Bush administration, after Reagan left. And it wasn't really reported in the news. And that made a lot of people angry. But it was kind of like tough, okay? There wasn't the protection of the memory, the honor, the memory of the agent, the honor of the agency, and the American people anymore once Reagan left. So, who was the person, one of the people that was involved in actually physically kidnapping this agent and participating in the brutalizing him over a period of days? They call him Shorty, Guzman, right? El Chapo.
El Chapo?
He was a lower down in the cartel at that time. He wasn't the head of it, but he participated in it. Anyway, don't you know this guy? Now he's probably in his 70s. They picked him up last year, so he got away with it for almost 30 years, 25 to 30 years, walking free. I found out he got arrested about 4 months ago. And I said, something's happening. But, I didn't get into it. I didn't get into it in my broadcast. So much other stuff's going on. People, this kidnapping of this agent is so far out of the public consciousness. But when it happened in 1985, let me tell you, this country got bristled up. And when Reagan shut the border down, not one person complained one bit. Not one representative, not one senator, nobody. It shows you how different the body politic is compared to now. So anyway, when they got this guy, I said, something's happening, because the Biden administration would not allow it. He's been free this long. I think he was free because of Bush. I think he stayed free because of Clinton. I think he stayed free because of Bush too. I think he stayed free because of Obama. And when Trump came in office, Guzman, El Chapo was the head of the cartel by then. And they put overt threats against Trump on Facebook and Twitter and everything else. But anyway, so when this guy got picked up, I said to myself, Guzman, or what's his name, El Chapo's talking. But I kept to myself. Sure enough, we get somebody leaked this information about the deeds, about Katie Hobbs, the Sinaloa cartel, and Sinaloa. And I think all that stuff's coming out because one of the reasons is because El Chapo's talking. You got to remember, he was brought into the U.S. when Trump was president. He already escaped from Mexican prisons 2 or 3 times, and Trump said, I'm sure it was part of what he said. I'm closing that border unless I get El Chapo in my hands in this country. Because he knew, because I've known all this. I knew who Guzman was, Shorty Guzman was El Chapo back in '85. So I know President Trump knew. So I think we're going to be finding out a lot of stuff, and I think we're at a fire hose right now with this Twitter drops, that Dr. Ouchie thing, all the stuff that's going on. But I'm wondering if they're going to turn the knob even more, and it'll really be blasting out as far as information. But I'm sure they don't want to overload people. That's why it gets quiet on the weekends, because whatever they talk about, it gives the public time to discuss and digest over the weekends. So anyway, that's a story that to me is, well known in my mind, but to 90% of Americans, they haven't heard a bit of it. And a big story too.
Interesting.
Because remember they got his son, Shorty's son. I keep calling him Shorty, because that's always when he got to be boss. It was El Chapo. Before that, it was Shorty. So they got his son just a couple weeks ago, right? And they got him back. They had to pay a bunch of bribe money, but I think it might have been more than that. I think it might have been telling El Chapo, look, we can help you get your son back, but why should we? We know you did this to a DEA agent. By all rights, you shouldn't be breathing. So let your son, no, I'll talk. The son gets returned. All this stuff started coming out about the Sinaloa cartel and the American politicians, very high American politicians. I don't need the building to fall in on me. I can take a hint. I know what's up. Didn't know I knew all that, did you?
No, that was interesting though.
Oh, it is a story. It is a story. I mean, there were 4 Americans killed, plus the DEA's pilot.
Hi, John.
Oh, Nikki.
El Chapo had something to do with all that.
Hi, John.
Hi, Diamond. Hello, Mountain Man.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, still alive and kicking.
That's good.
It's always good when God wakes you up in the morning and you put both feet on the ground, huh?
Yep, not kicking up dirt.
That's right. No, Mountain Man, that was really interesting how
Well, it's something that's been niggling at me. And when I heard this guy got rearrested and I saw his picture, he looked like what he was, an elderly man.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, because when I found out he was gone, a crooked judge let him out. There's a story behind that too. I don't want to get too deep into it, but the lack of outrage and was what was disgusting. And I thought, well, they'll get him out. They'll get him at some point. And by what I mean by not capturing, they're just going to get him. And I don't want to, but no, he just stayed free. And out of the blue, I see an article with a so coot getting caught late last year. And it was the farthest thing from people's minds. And then there he is. And then I heard about El Chapo's son. And I see these. Who in the world would have ever thought that in the morning you would be reading about the Sinaloa drug cartel and Katie Hobbs and senators and deeds and dirty money laundering? Who'd have ever thought that? Wasn't even in the cards in the scenario, nowhere.
Right.
Except for the 17th letter. And they mention MS in the letter, Numbers 13, right? That's what the Sinaloa cartel operates off of. That gang. So it's been known that there's a Latin American drug connection into the highest levels of U.S. politics.
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now the answers are coming out.
Right.
And right after Trump said what? He was going to go directly and destroy the leaders of the cartel when he is put back in office. He's going to take military action, police action, whatever lawful action by any government body to go after and completely destroy the heads of the cartels. So, yeah,
Nikki B.
people are cracking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to go off topic there, but Kathy E just put in chat, there's a high pressure system that's holding the storms out over the ocean, and they're going down in intensity. Prayers are being answered. Please continue.
Oh,
We
wow.
prayed for the West Coast for several days here, and so all praise goes to you, Heavenly Father. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy, for letting us know. Thank you. Sorry, Mountain Man.
Oh, it's all right. That's all right. I mean, it's, that's pretty much, sometimes I will be thinking about issues and I presume that, other people have heard about it or other people my age may know about certain stories. But, this throttling of the media, this throttling of the ability to search online has really dumbed us down. And I don't mean dumb in a as a pejorative. I mean, if I can't find, I can't use the term ignorant to us down. Because being ignorant, you can be ignorant because somebody's holding information from me. And if like I'm in court and somebody asks me a question about something, I'd say, well, I was ignorant of that. I had no knowledge of that. I'm not insulting myself. It's just a fact. And you substitute unaware. So the unaware state, the unawaring us down has gotten to be so bad because Ronald Reagan shutting down that Mexican border was at the time like hundreds of millions of fists going up in the air, like, all right, because we were dealing with illegal crossings back then, not near what we see now. But it was something that people were fed up with, even at as little bit as was going on, plus the drug dealing. So when he shut it down, it was monumental, and everybody knew about that DEA agent, what they'd done to him.
Excuse me. Mary Freeland came back because I was asking her about the big news that's supposed to break on Monday. And she's saying on Truth Social, the person named Dr. Drano, a lawyer, said the announcement will benefit all patriots. I'm still not sure what's going on with all of that, but we'll see. Monday's around the corner.
I'm familiar with DC Drano. But I haven't heard of Dr. Drano yet.
Hebrew Hammer says in the 80s, Mossad were hunting cartel members in Mexico linked to Bolivian Nazis in the 90s.
Mossad. That's the
Odd.
Israeli Secret Service.
Mm-hmm. Can you read his comment up there?
Yeah, it's in the 90s, Bush expelled Israelis from Mexico and strengthened the cartels as a part of America's transfer of wealth. Oh, Hebrew Hammer. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. And this business, we get into rabbit holes, but it's good because George Bush Sr. went after Pineapple Head. Does anybody remember that name?
Pineapple Head?
Yeah.
No, not me.
I mean, you remember that name, Pineapple Head? Bush went after him, used the military too.
I do not remember.
I'm
about
just
you,
going to
John? You
give
remember
the chats a little bit of time, see if anybody gets it.
What about you, John Dunning? Do you know Pineapple Head?
I don't know him as Pineapple Head. I probably know who you're talking about, but not as Pineapple Head.
I'm going to see if they get it in the chats. Mary said it may be the DC Drano. Michelle said it was DC Drano.
Is he
He does put
credible?
out some good stuff. Yeah, he puts out some good stuff. Him and Clandestine. You want to subscribe to Clandestine or follow? I mean, Clandestine in DC Drano.
Hebrew Hammer says Noriega.
Yep, you got it. Bush used the military to arrest him as a drug dealer. He died in prison, in a U.S. prison, and he was the leader of Panama. Now, when has a head of state sent the U.S. military to arrest another head of state?
Was he?
Claiming
He wasn't a drug dealer, though, right?
Oh, yeah, they all were.
Oh, okay.
But he had pockmarks all over his face. And Manuel Noriega, and that's why they called him Pineapple Head.
Yeah, the world isn't what we perceive it to be until you start looking in, past history and stuff. I shared a link with Unit 173, Japan. And I also shared one with Saudi Arabia, just bought 14,000 acres out west. And, they're struggling with water rights out there. But yet, why does the Saudis get unlimited or monitored water usage? See, the United States has made deals under the table with all these other countries, and even we all are aware with Operation Paperclip, how they brought the Nazis in, and that's part of NASA and everything like that. But actually, if you read that article on Unit 731, Japan had a biological research. Well, they called it research, and this is how these scientists label this. And even right now, with, the whole COOF and everything like that, it's like, oh, well, we're studying these. But it's like, why are you studying something if it was never in the populace to begin with? So it kind of leads you to believe, all this stuff we're dealing with is created. And if you look into like some of these other researchers, like on patents, anything that is natural, like a tree, anything natural, you cannot patent it until you alter it. And then if you look at the COOF patents, there's all kinds of them. And different countries hold them, and they buy and sell this data and information. And, it's like every country pretty much is all involved in this. And this is why I believe, that's like if you look at videos of Pelosi or anybody we're seeing now, it's like they're totally different people now. Are they, doubles or clones or whatever you want to call them? Because I believe there is, and even, hammer knows, the Hebrew hammer. You know, there are operations going on right now. Cyber is a big thing. And I believe a lot of what we're dealing with is we have to see what they can do with this new technology, you know, how they can make people be perceived to be one thing that they're not, you know, and also to see just how much actual power a sitting president really has, you know. That's like, you know, they took the president of the United States and said, you can't get on Twitter no more. You know, Biden, he's up there, you know, being like a brain dead. And he's still president. I think a lot of it is to show us, you know, the presidents and these leaders, so-called leaders, aren't really what's running the show. You know, you got the bankers and the wealthy people in the military industrial complexes that are flexing their muscles, you know. And that's why a lot of it is, you know, why isn't the military out here and doing this and that? Because the military's actually infiltrated. Really, nobody really knows who's who until somebody makes a move. And then they can pinpoint, and different organizations can take action.
Well, that's what it's all about. We're cleaning the house, and I think it was my last broadcast. I put that in there. That in the post itself, what it said verbatim. That they're cleaning out the Tibby, okay, the Bizzle, and the DOJ. When you say DOJ, you might as well include C.I.A. and FBI and all that stuff. So that's what they're drawing them out.
Right.
Same as with the judges, same as with the prosecutors, same as with these governors that are pulling fast ones. They're getting desperate, and they have to act on their own now because they're losing so much of their underlings that they have to take action themselves and get their own hands dirty. And the beautiful thing about this thing is Trump is out of it. As I said before, he's got clean hands. It's being done by somebody else. And he gets up on Truth Social and says, see, I told you, But they can't blame him when the stuff hits the fan. And it's going to hit the fan. It's hitting the fan now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I was going to say, I was thinking about the Silicon Valley bank that just collapsed. And I'm wondering if it was a signal to us, because Silicon Valley is known for the area where the big tech companies are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that they're coming down?
I think it's got to do with scam Stankman fraud and FTC. Combine that with the money flow being very heavily scrutinized from cartels. I think there's a lot of money laundering that's being stopped. And as I said before, the Secret Service is the lead agency for international money laundering. That means all of it. Ukraine, Mexico, everywhere.
Exactly. It's big. It's
And
bigger.
the U.S. Secret Service is right underneath the president.
That's
His
just like,
direct authority. Nobody in between.
that's like all this black money, you know, from drugs and any kind of trafficking. You know, you're talking major money. And
It's all getting cut off.
It's all getting cut off. They're, you know, with the new technology, the algorithms and the AI and different things like that. Like I said, everything that man creates is kind of like a gun, you know. if you set a gun on the table, it never hurt nobody until somebody picks it up. And then it depends on who picks that up, you know. And that's the way this technology is. And it's actually been unleashed, a lot of it. And you can see, too, this has been out for a long time. And even the United States has done some dirty stuff. Not the people, and not necessarily the government, but there's the group called the bad people, you know. And this is like, these bad people want to point a finger at the white man, the black man, the Jew, the Catholic, the Baptist. You know, that's why they want everybody wearing labels. But yet nobody, and a lot of people can't see past that and say, hey, you know, we're all human beings, you know, but we have free will. We can be good or bad. And that's basically, if you know that, now apply that. Because it's like, you know, when somebody's saying it's China, it's not the Chinese people, but there are bad Chinese people involved in this. It's not the Russians, but there are Russians involved in this. It's not the Europeans. It's not the Middle Easterns, you know, but there are those bad people in that. That's how you get to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, you know. It's just bad people, and they're everywhere. And these people know the game plan, and they know how to, who to go to cover their tracks and different things like that. And we're just waking up to that.
Hebrew Hammer is saying eventually Texas will succeed. House bill has been logged, might possibly be on November's ballot. Is he talking about them becoming a sovereign state?
Yeah, succeeding from the Union.
Well, that I'm gonna quote Jeff Sessions. That argument was settled in 1865 about succeeding. Ain't gonna happen. We're not giving America. We're not giving 1 inch of ground. If anything, we're gonna realign borders. Seceding from the Union, we're gonna get our federal government back. Because what does Texas have a problem with? They have a problem with the federal government.
Right.
Now I've got some pictures in my studio for tomorrow night that I wasn't going to do last night till I started going off on the 17th letter. But Oregon's going to lose over half of its state. Utah, it keeps it up. They can do boundary adjustments. They can be absorbed. Citizens can petition. You live on the border of Utah with Oregon, and you're sick of it. You can ask Utah to absorb your county, and it's lawful. It's not any constitutional crisis. So Oregon may shrink down to a third of its size, and I'll put the maps up. Stuff that's right in front of me. But as far as leaving the United States, starting their own country, I'll tell you what Andrew Jackson said about this. He said, John C. Calhoun. John C. Calhoun. Y'all want to look up a little history, look up John C. Calhoun. He was a senator in the South for many, many years. And he was pushing for secession and saying it was constitutionally acceptable for states to secede from the Union. And Andrew Jackson started putting out the word that I hear that talk, somebody's going to get arrested. While he was president, he said that, and they shut up about it. That was in the 1840s. And it didn't actually happen until 1861. Now, John C. Calhoun was still in the Senate, very old, but he was still in there, and it was his dream come true. But prior to all that happening, Andrew Jackson passed away. I'm not sure the exact date, but he said he had two regrets. He said he regretted that his racehorse didn't win a couple of big races. That was one of his big regrets in life. And his second big regret was that he did not hang John C. Calhoun higher than Haman. And you all know Haman in the Bible.
Right.
And so it is the T word that, I'm sure is a trigger word in the rhythm. It's the TRAITOR word, to leave our United States. We're not giving up 1 inch of ground. That's why I won't call any names around here, but that's why I told another creator, a lot of us know, who was calling for that, seceding from the Union, breaking us up to be what? A balkanized setup like over in Eastern Europe. We've got Yugoslavia, whatever Slavia, and over in the Middle East, you got Gornyapansistan and whatever Istan country, different balkanizing is what it's called. Remember the Balkans War?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like little states fighting each other. So why would we balkanize this great nation? We want the American spirit, the Constitution to spread, not chip it up into different philosophies and different like Confederates, the CSA, Confederate States of America. They wrote their own Constitution, and that's what Jeff Sessions said. That question was settled in 1865. 700,000 lives lost.
I think that's too a lot of what's going on is, and even in the Bible, how it talks about, we're not at battle against flesh and blood, but principalities and rulers of darkness in high places. I believe that is very true. I don't think war has ever been really necessary, because really what happens before war, they mess with your minds, whether it be form a union or abolish the union, just like in the Middle East and what's going on over there. They put people in to instigate, to divide and cause chaos, and people get it in their minds, this is what we should do, but they make sure they put two different opposing theologies out there, and people start grabbing these theologies, and then pretty soon you got people against each other, which is kind of like what they did with the Kuf. You have some who believe in the jabs, and you have those who don't, so now you've got two opposing people. Well, they do that even with our political process. You have far right, far left. Right now, you've got people against each other. And you see that in every country, everywhere. They don't want people to come together. And I think that's where we as people, and we need to see that, we can't let politics or different people bring us apart more than what we already are.
Yeah.
I think our greatest battle is trying to stay together right now.
Yeah. A lot of people in chat are saying that Oregon, it won't be Utah, it'll be Idaho.
Idaho, right?
Okay.
Well, they're all making noises about it. Somebody's going to lose some power and land. I'd be in on it if I was a neighboring state. That's when you say, "Hey, we'll give you guys tax breaks. We'll get, why don't you come over here and join us?" There'll be a lot of hats in the ring. But somebody put up a quote, and I just lost it. Where the deep state wants us to be, divided. I don't know if you can see it.
I don't see it.
She started with a C, I think her name. It just jumped off my screen. Cosette Trichomy.
Yeah,
That's-
946, Nikki, 946.
I'm a looking.
And
There she is.
And that's just like Stalin. When Stalin said, he can take down the West without ever firing a shot. Because if they can affect with our minds, and that's why this cyber, if different nations can come in here and put different information, which they have done, and even before the cyber whole thing, propaganda in our TV, our newspapers, our magazines, even our books, as far as our history. And we are lacking in world history and world events. That's kind of why, I shared that Unit 173. It never gets talked about. Nobody talks about that. And that ties into the NIH, the current day NIH. And even, Japan, the US, Britain, China, all these people were aware of all these things going on around the world. And they didn't want to admit they took a part in that. This is their dark secrets. They don't want people to know. And it's, how eugenics and all these different things like that, they've all taken part in it because it's a moneymaker, That's like, if you have the technology to make somebody sick and the technology to make them better, that's money. It's generating wealth to these people.
It's disgusting, though.
It is. These people, they have no morals. If you ever read that, and I think there's a few videos on that Unit 173, I'm not going to explain it and I'm not going to go into detail on it. But these people are sick.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I got another little tidbit here. Well, as I was discussing this alphabet business and changing the marriage laws, if you know what I mean, is blowing up the internet now down in the East, in the East, and that's becoming more of a focus on why they're fighting, especially for soldiers in the Russian Federation and for citizens who have their towns occupied. And we're going to be hearing more of that. But this one report is anti-alphabet, and you know what those letters are. Flag may appear in Russia. According to media reports, employees of modern psychology in Moscow sent a letter to the president's office with a request to create a flag of traditional family values as opposed to the rainbow one. The new symbol, in their opinion, will unite brave, honest, and sensible people. So I'm sure he'll do some sort of executive order and have the government have a flag that the psychologists recommend, that they feel it's better for people, their mental health, better for strength of families, and they want to run around celebrating their flag. Well, we could celebrate ours.
But that's making mockery of our God.
Yep.
The rainbow was to represent God's promise to man that he never flood the earth again.
Yep.
And
that's why they put it upside down. They steal our symbols, but they invert them. It's upside down rainbow.
And two, sometimes when we're looking at things, we're thinking politics. A lot of this has nothing to do with politics. It's about power and control. There's still people who believe, supremacy I'll use that word. And they use it. Oh, they use anything they can to achieve that. You know, they'll use your color, they'll use your religion, they'll use your where you came from, anything. They'll use it because they want to maintain and keep power and control. And you know, this is it's been going on since really the beginning of time. You know, you've always had people who have that mental, you know, that's like, if you look at it, even Hitler, you know, Hitler, they portrayed him as being a Christian man, but that was to be in control of the people, more or less. He believed in German supremacy, you know, the white Anglo-Saxon supremacy over the world. This is what he believed, but he also portrayed himself as a Christian. To me, the two don't go together, because nowhere in the Bible does it even mention color, or does it mention anything to give anybody here on earth supremacy over others.
Right. It sure doesn't mention climate change.
It doesn't mention a lot of things people talk about. So, I was telling a mutual friend of ours, if I had, Jesus would let me know if I had to worry about lizard people. Okay.
Did you guys hear that in California, they're saying that white drivers are causing the climate problems out there?
Yeah, don't you know it?
Yeah, I mean, what I can't wrap my brain around that stuff.
And some of this stuff I think we're seeing is deliberate to show us how crazy, you know,
Yeah.
that theology is, you know.
I hope so, John, because it's like, what?
It's
Right.
a cult. It's a cult. It's a fear operation. It's a fear psyop, and we all heard Trump say in the all the different hoaxes over the time. He didn't mention the one that Ayn Rand in her book Atlas Shrugged. I don't know how many people in chats are familiar with the philosopher Ayn Rand, spelled R-Y-N-D. She wrote Atlas Shrugged in the 1940s. And in her book, she mentions that the doomsayers are running around saying that the sun is going to burn out. That's what they were using back in the 30s and the 40s to scare people. And in her book, she said, the heroine in her book said, well, I always figured that we'd invent something by that time just to replace it.
They're already working on
The
it.
positive thinking of versus the fear mongering.
Look under artificial sun. They're already China and the United States and I believe Russia.
Well, there you go. And that she wrote that book 80 years ago. But she was just bringing up how they try to scare people. It was
Right.
we were gonna have an ice age in the 70s. The sun was going to burn out in the 40s. Overpopulation in the 60s. Then we get into the modern global warming, and then it goes to climate change. So it's always just some kind of stupid little game. But I tell you, here's one thing. Let me get back to this one thing. What's the next scare thing I saw? Scientists fear, quote, zombie virus containing radioactive waste could be unleashed from 30,000-year-old frozen soil. That's they're trying to dream up something. They're always trying to dream of somewhere where some people get turned into nervous Nellies. Kids come home from school saying, I'm not going to have kids because we're destroying the earth. Put a big guilt complex on people. So, and Saul Alinsky in his book Rules for Radicals, and Marx and Engels, all these characters, the first thing you do is get the whipping boy a scapegoat. It was the Jews, it was the blacks, now it's the whites. They'll always be finding a whipping boy to put the country's woes on and the focus on while they sit in their ivory towers.
Exactly. The chaos. They want us in chaos. And what does fear create? It creates chaos,
Well,
And this,
we got control over our own minds. I don't want to offend anybody in the world. I don't want to offend anybody in the world. But I had somebody telling me how anxious and miserable and afraid they were, and how they were concerned and couldn't sleep. And I'll bring it up a second time. I said, well, if I spent my time worrying about, being afraid of, and believing in lizard people, giants, alien invasion, on and go, I'd be miserable too. I keep saying what Christ said. Take each day. Got enough problems for today. Don't worry about the lizard people in tomorrow. Don't worry about underground civilizations that are quietly waiting to take us over. I mean, that's infesting people's minds, causing them to be irrational.
Fear not, right?
Yeah, fear not. Be not afraid.
Yep.
that's why the Christian's always been persecuted.
Yep.
Because
every group's been persecuted.
but the Christian has a sense of peace about them.
That's right. Like I was saying about Matt Taibbi when he was testifying in front of the Senate. I said that in the last night's broadcast. He used to look like somebody out of a movie. It's like, whoa, this guy's scary looking. But he had a peace over it. The truth gives you peace.
The truth will set you free, Mountain Man.
Well, it gives you peace of mind.
When you're constantly, fearing, or what was that quote I heard today? I loved it, and I said I was going to remember it. But if you're lying all the time, you're always on edge because you have something to protect, which is your lie, right?
Yeah.
But if you're always telling the truth, your light is always shining because you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to hide.
You have a much calmer mind, a much more focused mind.
Correct.
You look at Alex Murdaugh, at all the lies he had to tell and then retell and dream up new ones and keep track of all of that crap. Of course, you're going to be unfocused and ineffective. And hey, you don't do something you need to lie about in the first place, you'll be all right.
That's right.
Some of them's gotten so good they believe their own lies.
This is true too.
That's true. Yeah.
They're delusional. A lot of them are.
Right.
A lot of them are. So we got to weed out.
Mm-hmm.
Menace res, actus res.
Yep.
But they'll keep throwing fear at us. And that zombie virus is just one of many. I put up for the same group that put up this zombie virus thing. They put up something about mosquitoes carrying diseases. Last year they tried that. Then they come up with the monkeypox. Xi Jinping was elected president of China for a third time in a row. Deputies of the National People's Congress of China voted unanimously for the re-election of Xi Jinping as president of the People's Republic of China. He also headed the Central Military Council of the country.
A lot of countries are waking up.
Mr. T called him president for life, and he said, Xi said, "Oh no, that's not you. No." Very humble. But Trump said, you're going to be president for life. And I guess he's right. He got reelected again for a third time. Trump's always right. When are they going to get that?
Oh yeah, Mountain Man. Don't forget about killer bees.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, murder hornets.
Murder
Murder.
hornets.
We joke and we laugh. I mean, there is real threats, but at the same time, it's like, to me, I see a lot of good people are in place. They know what's going on. And we're getting a show. We're getting to see all the corruption and how ludicrous it has become with, these people making deals with these people and these people making deals with those people. And yet we have a constitution, we have laws, we have these things that should be in place and working for us. But these people know they know the system backwards and forwards, and they've infiltrated it to the point where now something had to be done. And I believe that's what we're witnessing. I believe there is good people out here. I mean, not, part of the bad guys, they want to destroy our government. They want to destroy our line of defenses, which is our FBI, CIA, and these people like that. But they've been infiltrated, which doesn't mean that they're all bad. It just means it was infiltrated. They've done some bad things, yes. We need to be watchful and pay attention and maybe even educate each other. That's like Mountain Man. He puts out a wealth of information. I try to, not so much on a platform, but I'm always in the chat and I'm always sharing links or information.
You do.
And hopefully people will pay attention, and some of the stuff that I share, I hope people look at it and just realize that this is just stuff that I have found. I find it to be helpful in getting a bigger perspective of things, because I think a lot of people, they went to school, maybe they're even highly educated, but it's to me, it's like life has indoctrinated all of us. And it's not so much an education that we got, because somewhere along the line, this information we was given was because somebody was behind it who had a motive that was not the truth. It was to steer us in a certain direction, or just to keep us, from knowing the truth.
I'm reading some of the chats here. John Joe, hopefully not monkeypox. Put a 4 in that BACCEI instead of an A, because that word's a trigger word, John Joe. Do us a favor. It's not our fault. That's just the way they do it. You can't have a normal conversation about stuff. But you say you got just enough in, are you talking about your arms? John Joe?
Who are you talking to?
John Joe. It's about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th chat up.
I
Put
don't see
the
John
whole word
Joe
in there.
the chat.
Huh?
I don't see a John Joe in the chat.
10,
No. Oh, okay.
10:06, 10:06.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The general public. Oh, okay.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That word, the whole word spelled out. You get away with it 1 or 2 times, but words like that's good to use a 4 instead of an A, and then spell it the regular way. But just take one vowel and put a number in there for trigger words.
I find it very strange that I do not see him on my phone, but I see him on StreamYard. That is interesting.
Well, I was just looking at the Gateway Pundit to get back to that Silicon Valley Bank, and they paid their employees bonuses, couple of hours before the bank was taken over by the FDIC.
Can you say it again, Diamond? I'm sorry. I missed it. What company was it?
You know the Silicon Valley Bank
Yeah.
that went under?
Mm-hmm.
The employees of that bank were given their annual bonuses only hours before the bank failed and was taken over.
Oh. Oh, how convenient. They got their bonuses, huh?
I think they should have to give them back, don't you?
Uh, yeah. I mean, it sounds like, well, he was, they were selling their shares and stuff too.
Yes. Insider
Before.
trading. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's crap.
Yeah. And a lot of there's another article. It says Silicon Valley Bank employees made large donations to uh, Potato Head, moron, and other Democrats. Interesting.
Very interesting.
I shared something in the chat with the private. I shared it in the other chat earlier. But, you know,
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
when you look at Christianity, and even here in our country, there's 25 or 2,700 different denominations of Christianity. And then when you start looking at the bigger picture of Christianity, you know, when you get into like the Muslim, the different denominations, even in like the Jewish community, you know, a lot of like with Hitler in World War II, he went after the Jews and he put them all in one big ball. But within the Jews, there are different practices. And I shared that link with like a lot of like with our gender dispute, you know. In the Talmud, it talks about 8 different genders. So a lot of different theologies are out there, you know, different than ours, you know. And some of them do condone or believe in supremacy, even at a religious level. And even Christians, you know, we want to think, this being a Christian, it should be the one world religion because we are Christians. That, you know, same goes with other denominations or different beliefs, you know. Everybody wants to think they're right. And that has also been a big, it's been weaponized in our politics and in different aspects of life. Because even the Crusades, you know, with the Templars, pick up your cross and let's go fight evil. Well, now you got to define evil, you know. Just because somebody believes something a little different than you, does that make them evil?
No.
You know, but yet thousands, if not millions of people have died with that concept, you know. And even as Christians, yes, we want evil out of this world, but killing people is not the answer. I believe it all can be settled through people just being able to realize that we're at war, not against the flesh and blood, but of principalities, of the evilness of the rulers in high places. This is our real battle. It's not even a physical thing. If we can understand that, now we can battle that. We know the enemy now. It's a psychological thing, you know. It's a moral thing. It's not even a physical thing.
But, you know, I look at it like, though, they're trying to kill us. They don't want us here.
It's been like that since the beginning of time. You know?
But my question is this. I mean, this is just me thinking about it logically. We work, we're work bees. We all work, we pay our taxes. They get a nice chunk of our paychecks every week or bi-weekly, however you get paid. Without us, what would they do?
Exactly. That's why the push for the robots, the AI and the robots. They really want to get rid of their resistance, you know, any resistance that they might be getting right now.
Hi,
Well,
Chris.
they said that they said in one of their manifestos, I think it was Klaus Schwab's. He discussed how on which race should have more of a share of the allocated survivors to Chinese people because they are used to being relegated, controlled. We're first on the list to go. Huh.
I know Kim, she made a comment that these people don't believe in God, let alone an enemy. You know, that's true. A lot of people don't. But we can't hold that against people because people, whether they believe in God or not, I believe people have instilled within them, within ourselves, in our soul. You know, we were born knowing a good sense of right and wrong, whether you were taught it or not. I believe, you know, as people, we are of flesh and blood, but we also have a soul. And I think, you know, even if we were all born on an island somewhere and never had access to a Bible or not, I believe we would still know right or wrong. You know?
Absolutely.
Well, that's one of the things that I brought up about Cortez coming to the Aztecs. They were shocked. Hiram Carr is up about 6, 7, 8 maybe chats says when the population gets too big they can't control it. That's why they want to drop it down to the 500 mark, like I said on the Godstones. And yeah, that's true. I mean, the less they're here, it's easier to control, especially if their psyops are so effective. But getting back to, you know, Cortez had a priest with him, and they were invited to the temple. And they saw what was going on there. I mean, hundreds of people being sacrificed at the top of that temple. And he met with Montezuma. Montezuma said, you know, I don't know what my enemies have said about me, talk about other chieftains that Cortez had come across. He said, but look, he opened his shirt up or his robe or whatever. It says, I'm skin, I'm flesh, I'm blood. I don't consider myself a god. And, you know, the translations are very erudite. I mean, they had the ability to communicate in their language. And so the priest was saying, look, we've got 10 rules, you know, and namely commandments. And he was trying to talk about, you know, not doing daily or even yearly or whatever sacrifices of human beings. But they had a festival come up, and the estimates by the conquistadors varied, but they were inordinately high. They said like 30,000 people were done that day. But they all said there was so much the red stuff running down from the top all the way to the bottom of the steps of the temple, and that you could smell that a quarter mile away. I don't doubt that. And the conquistadors couldn't understand. They said, look, we have crops. We rely on the sun to grow our food. We don't have to do this. in order to have good crops. Well, in other words, are you crazy? And it didn't phase them. People in line were like, hey, they were saying, hey, you want to get out of line, save your life? No, I got to get my job. I got to get up there. A lot of them they gave them primitive alcohol and potions and stuff. A lot of them were out of their heads. But a lot of them believed, hey, it's my turn. It's what I'm supposed to do. If you don't let me go up there to the top of that temple, I'm going to be in trouble with my snake god. So
But that
God
was
revealed himself. God revealed himself, but he didn't reveal himself to the Aztecs. If he did, they weren't listening.
But that went to people's minds. Like these chiefs, they wanted people to believe they were gods, basically, and so that they can control the people. And the people, like the power of influence. We look up to people who are wearing suits and ties, and people who we perceive as successful because of the amount of money they have, the jets they fly and all of this other stuff, The same thing even back then, before all that, there was the rulers. The rulers come up with different ways to control the people. And that was by messing with their minds, and some of the practices were not, they were evil practices, but they were very effective, as far as power and control goes.
Well, it's a common sense issue of, what's the best. Where did Diamond go?
Oh, she stepped out. She's got to put her granddaughter to bed.
Oh, what's the best way? What's the best way? And that's what my father was saying before he passed. He said, marriage, when they were talking about doing away with traditional marriage. He said it's the best way, and that's the thing. We're given reason, we're given the ability to evaluate situations in a way that is considered wholly good versus evil. We can distinguish, and when you, especially with the gender business, there's no conclusion a rational person can come up to except say that will lead to suffering, human suffering, if you do that to yourself. And it is a direct challenge to God's plan and his creation, which is us. So it's common sense, but that was in a way what the conquistadors, Cortez, and the priests were saying, that these people don't even have common sense. This is horrific. And you can't get much more control over a population than people stand in line waiting to go up and be living and have their heart removed while they're alive and want to do it. That's some pretty serious control there.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole, the Christian movement. It spread the word of God. It took Bibles to different nations and different things, even though some of it got corrupted through, greed, or different things, where these people who are supposed to be teaching and educating us have altered and twisted little things here and there to make it a profitable business, versus actually putting out the truth. I think humans, mankind, if given the information whether it be given all the information instead of just one side or the other, and the truth, we can make good decisions based on that. But we're finding out now a lot of the information we was given was either one-sided, or not even the truth. You know, with that going on, it's hard for us as a people to really make good, sound decisions, because in a sense, you know, when we went to this form of government that we have, and any form of government really, it's kind of like, okay, you deal with that and just let me go do my job. Let me do what I'm supposed to do, you know. But we're finding out that by doing that, now look what we got. You know, it is a mess right now. But at the same time, I believe the same things we're seeing and the same things we're discussing, there are people at different layers or levels that have seen this same thing throughout time. And right now it's just come to where, okay, we needed to do something about it. The government saw it, the military saw it, and the people are seeing it, you know. And it's going to work out. But even with the AI and the different technology, that's like right now, this discussion we have and people in the chat, you know, algorithms pick it up, take it to the AI, and the AI is saying, hey, you know, people are starting to get it. People are starting to see that, you know, we need to become humans again. You know, we need to put our input in on everything that's going on.
Amen. So
I'll give you some, John, to look up that you might find interesting to see if you can get the meaning out of it. If you go on the 17th letter, it's got to do with what you were talking about. Operation Paper is the first word, and the second word is clip, right?
Right.
Okay, so you might want to write down this post number, 928. And it's very interesting. And if you'd like me to, I'll read it to you.
If you can read it, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah. Angela Dorothea Kasner, daughter of a pastor. I'll pronounce it like Trump pronounced it. Angela Dorothea Kasner, daughter of a pastor. Name of father. History of father. HITLER, youth. Parentheses, member. Haircut today versus then. Parentheses A, namely Angela. Symbolic, the haircut symbolic. U.S. intelligence post-World War controlled who? The quote, mission. Who is Angela Hitler? What relationship to Adolf? How were the children named in Germany during this period? First or middle? Family tree. Anna, Maria, Alois. Examples. Risk of, quote, conspiracy label, the deeper we go. Their truth will shock, in capital letters, the world. And I pulled this post up as a response to a number of times people had put in the chats, the first arrest will shock the world. The first arrest will shock the world. I've said many times that was never said on 17. So I put in shock the world. The first arrest not going to shock the world. The truth will shock the world. And it's tied right back in to Angela Merkel, her parents, and it ties back to Adolf. And it's right there in that post number I gave you. You want to take a look at it, try to figure it out. I know quite a bit of it because I've read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich twice. I've read Adolf's autobiography My mother was 8 years old when Hitler took care of himself, if you know what I mean. And she lived in Germany until the 50s. So I know quite a bit. And also know that my mom was wise to Werner von Braun back in the 60s. So anyway, but that is a post looking at some of the things you put in the private chat that you might be interested in digging down in.
Was that Aleister Crowley's mom?
Who?
The Hitler's mother as well.
No. She died of cancer when Hitler was in his 20s, early 20s. And he's got stepbrothers. Alois, Alois. Huh?
Supposedly Hitler's mom was raped by a Rothschild.
No, his grandmother.
His grandma, okay.
Right. I did a video on that. It's got a picture of him, Adolf, in black and white, walking out of a doorway, dressed in an overcoat, carrying a hat, and it says Heil Schickelgruber with a question mark. Schickelgruber. And but anyway, so it tells about Hitler's family tree. So no, I wouldn't use the R-A-P-E word. It was more or less the grandmother on Hitler's mother's side was, wait a minute. Schickelgruber. If Alois, sometimes he spelled his name Hister, sometimes he spelled his name Hitter. But anyway, he was adopted by an uncle, and his real first name, Hitler's father's first name, was Schickelgruber. So anyway, and Hitler's autobiographer said, well, it's kind of fortuitous for Germany, because I find it hard to imagine everybody standing out there in the hundreds of thousands of people holding their right arm up, hand out, saying Heil Schickelgruber. So anyway, what it was his grandmother was a maid. The rumor, the story, in a Jewish household, a Jewish merchant, and that he had an affair with his maid, which is how his father was born, Alois. So, yeah.
Yeah, when you get to looking into things, they change their names.
Yeah, well, that stuff is the past history. This post I'm talking about is tying right in to what's going. The NWO, who is a big player in the biggest economy in Western Europe, which is Germany, and how it ties back to a family. And it puts some clues in there that you might want to look at.
I'll look into it here a little later on. But again, it's following the same pattern, like Germany. They split it, you know. You had the communist and the socialist parties at war with each other within Germany itself, you know. And then you have different countries supporting one side or the other. But at the same time, the bankers don't go by borders. The bankers actually supported both sides. And a lot of U.S. military, like Ford supplied engines and ball bearings and different things for both Russia and Germany. these are really the ones who are behind all of it, because they are looking at the money. They don't care how many lives are lost, because they want to be in control of that country. They'll split it, they'll divide it, and then they can go in and they can pick a side that is with their agenda, which means putting their banks into that country and getting that country to follow their way of life, you know. And this is true with pretty much every country you've seen. It's not so much like when people say the United States. Well, the United States is the people of the United States. Like even right now, we're questioning, why are we in Ukraine? You know, the people are. But the government and the bankers and the investors, they're the ones who are like, yeah, we need another war. You know, this will boost our profits.
Gina, you're right about that. But that word put a 4 instead of an A. Okay, Gina? H802. So is Ford Motor Company. And you know the interesting thing about it, since you brought up IBM, Big Blue, they used to call it. A 4 looks like an A, so you put N4ZI, everybody knows what that means. And it doesn't get the rhythm going. But anyway,
Can I ask you gentlemen a question?
yeah.
So this is for both of you. So my question is, I mean, we always think of AI and all this going, for the bad. I mean, I think AI could be used for good as well, right?
Well, sure.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on I did that whole show on that whole AI thing, which completely freaked me out. I'm going to be honest. Which way do you think we'll go with this? Do you think it's going to go for the bad or for the good? That's my question.
It depends on who's implementing it and who's controlling it. I'll just tell you a fun fact that what Gina said. Gina said IBM was heavily involved with the National Socialists, because that's what that word means, NAZI. That's just a German acronym for National Socialists. In America, we would spell it NA, short for National, SO, Socialist, NAZOs. So IBM and Ford Motor Company were helping the NAZIs. But the point I'm making is Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Ross Perot are all spun off of IBM. Ross Perot created a system that helped create the monstrosity we now know as Medicare and Medicaid. Okay, which is now running our lives. Okay, in control of a third of this country's economy. You know what Bill Gates is involved in. You know what he, as far as our flow of information and what kind of computers and stuff we use, how big influence he has. And you also know what Steve Jobs of Apple. Okay, so you got Apple, Microsoft, and Pro Systems that created the Medicare, Medicaid, modern Medicare, Medicaid system. So all of them spun off of IBM. Just wanted to put that little point in there for Gina. But as far as AI goes, we can work miracles for ourselves, of course. I mean, look at these phones we're using compared to party lines.
I get all that, but my question is, which way do you feel that this is going to go? That was my question.
I feel that there's going to be, listen, if El Salvador can put 63,000 people in jail, 40,000 of them in one camp, it'd be a piece of cake for us to clean this crap up once we identify them. I think there's going to be mass arrests. I think we're going to be able to make sure we have a government that is puts forward its intentions, and that the American people and humanity will vote for what's best for themselves and best for humanity itself.
But we're under the impression as of right now that our votes don't count.
Right. People need to learn that for a long time they haven't counted.
What about you, John? What do you say about AI?
Give me a minute. I'm looking up.
I will tell you, there's a restaurant over here in Michigan by us that the robot delivers your food to the table. So it makes me angry because it's taking, money out of people's pockets that could be delivering that food. So there goes a job, right? That's the way I look at it. So I don't see that being a good thing.
I shared something in the private for you, Nikki. I believe we're going into technology, and that's some of what we're dealing with right now. Laws pertaining to cybersecurity and, what can and can't be allowed. How can it be used? What kind of limitations should we put on it? And like Mountain is saying, it's like a gun, it depends on who's behind that. That's what's going to make the whole difference. And that link I just shared, BlackRock is AI Aladdin. If you look that up, it tells you that's BlackRock. And this is something too. Trump had Newsom or whatever his name is, and the CEO of BlackRock involved in putting the Fed into the Treasury. And this was back in 2018, I believe it was. So, we're going into the future. And I think a lot of that is why, we're getting all this, it's basically distractions. Because I believe they are putting things in places that it can be beneficial. Like all this crime and corruption and all this offshore money and all these different things like that. I don't think the human mind can track all this down.
Oh, we lost Mountain Man. It really made me mad because I look at it that, young kids deserve, a chance, and even anybody, it doesn't even have to be young kids starting out though at a restaurant, butting tables, waitressing. That's where we all start, right?
Right.
And that's just taking jobs away from them. It makes me so mad.
Well, people don't have to eat there.
No.
If I want to have a human being wait on me, I'll say so. And if I don't get a human being, I'll walk out the door. I can make a sandwich. I can cook food to eat.
Right. No, 100%. I agree with that.
But then again, you get a waitress come up with a piece of metal hanging out of her nose and her lip, and
Sure.
infected. One half her hair is purple. And what do you want? I say, I want another waitress.
I want you to be respectful is what I want.
I just say I want another waitress. Why? I figure it out. Well, you can't have another waitress. Okay, goodbye. I'll go next door.
Yeah.
That's like we can fight.
Russia announced that it had over $150 billion seized of Western assets, and one of the biggest companies that were involved in that seizure was black, and the second word is rock. So maybe that's got a little something to do with what's going on.
Well, I'll tell you, I won't be back to that restaurant, but I had my daughter and a few of her friends with me, and they thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I had to explain to them, to me, it's not cool.
Yeah,
why I thought it wasn't cool.
it's a reduction of human interaction, and if you can reduce human interaction, you can reduce the exchange of ideas.
That's right.
But I'm trying to comb through here. Things are so entrenched, so big. The changes are and how far they've entrenched themselves. This has got to be a years long operation. That's exactly what it is. Exactly what we're seeing. We can't move forward as a country. We can't move forward as civilization without people being woken up and seeing where they have been asleep at the switch and taking responsibility for their own fate. And uh, that's what this process is about. I mean, this is a historical thing, and it's in stages. And right now, and some of the stages are happening simultaneously, like the judges being identified, particularly the ones that are going out of their way to persecute Trump. And as Trump said, I'll take all these slings and arrows for you. Why? Why is he taking slings and arrows? So you can see where they're coming from. Who's firing the arrows? Who's swinging the sling? You got to have somebody take the slings and arrows, identify the fire, and go get them, put them, take care of them. That's what's got to be done, and that's for our whole system, really. Prosecutors, judges, elected officials, government employees,
School boards.
school boards. I saw a good. I'm going to get a clip of. I think this one guy I saw being interviewed, and he put out a book, and he said exactly what I've been saying all last year. All politics are local. Take care of your counties and/or your towns. And I've asked my viewers, how many of you even know what district you live in your county? Most people don't even know, couldn't tell you who's your supervisor. No, they can't tell you. And these people vote on how much you're going to pay for your real estate taxes, for the roof over your head. And they get the banks, and they get the types of loans that are structured to where all you know is you. And out of sloth and ignorance, I'm sorry, a lot of people are slothful. They don't take the time. They ask the realtor, how much would my payment be for this particular house? Well, they build the real estate taxes in it. They build private mortgage insurance in it. They figure out the rate and the principal, and you pay pennies on your principal at the beginning, and everything else you're paying is the rest of you've got a $1,500 house payment. Maybe $100 will go to your principal. $1,400 is going to other interest, taxes, other crap. But they say, "Oh, $1,500, I can afford it." Okay, thank you. You got a new home. Congratulations. And then, well, where do you live? I live in such town. Oh, who's your supervisor? I don't know. So, irresponsible, slothful, ungrateful that they live in a country where they have the ability to affect their own lives for the better. But when things go wrong, when things get tight, they piss and moan. They still can't tell you who their supervisor is. So, but when this is over with, they got any brains in their head, they will. They'll know.
This is true.
And then you've got to think, just like the Aztecs walking up the steps, or the ones actually up there doing it. You got a crowd like that. Hey, go up the steps. At some point, you got to say that.
There are things they cannot take away from you. God gave it to you when you was born. That's your freedom.
Well, there's people that don't want to accept it.
They can only give you the illusion that they're taking it away. I mean, they can actually put you in prison, but they're not taking your freedom, because you have the choice. Well, you can to make choices, you know. Even though they imprison you, they still haven't taken nothing away from you that God gave you. You know.
Yeah, we're talking about our own psyche, our own beliefs. I'm
Right.
talking about the person on the other side of that door across the street, which I don't have, but but people in neighborhoods. What's behind those doors? People that don't give a damn. People that uh, uh, their kids come home and say, "Mom, is the world going to end? And because the climate's changing? Oh, honey, Oh, is it really? Oh, we better start eating. Let's buy this veggie burger or bug burger, and don't take time to educate themselves." Or a kid comes home and says, "Will you take me to the doctor so I can get some medicine so I can be a girl?" Well, sure, honey. People like that. What do you do about people like that? Because they can vote and they can affect your life.
What do you do about people like that?
Like Dr. Zelinsky said, let the culling begin. This may be a culling. And if it is, it's by the hand of God. It's by people's own actions. Like people sitting in a drive-through with their arm hanging out for somebody else to stick a needle in their arm. They don't even know what's in the vial.
Right.
And they're in line with their arms hanging out the window. Goodbye. Goodbye to that kind of idiocy. Because people like that are making decisions that affect my life. So at some point, you can't save every fallen robin, much less save every robin that wants to jump out of the nest.
You can reach out, but that ain't to say they'll take your hand, you know.
Well, it's like I said, God gave us freedoms, but there are people that don't accept the freedom, because with freedom comes responsibility. And
Yep.
if being free was easy, the whole world would be free.
Right. That is very true.
I have faith. I believe, these people who might not be getting it right now, eventually I believe they will. I don't think it's going to take a world war or anything. I believe, just the way things are, like even with us, through our discussions, and, maybe there's people who are hearing some of this stuff for the first time or what have you. I believe that the Christian movement is expanding,
I agree.
and I believe, it's not doom and gloom. I believe just like those links I shared with the quantum and Aladdin and different things. And, our grandparents and our parents hated modern technology. Like
Yep.
when the radio came out, it's like, oh, that's a demon box,
Yeah.
the TV, that's a demon box, and we're kind of the same way, because it's the unknown. We don't know much about it. We don't understand it and these things like that. But I believe there are people, and they're good people, just like there are bad people in this world who, maybe this is something because we have gotten into this position that we are in. We need this, If it wasn't for this technology right here, I wouldn't be talking to you, Nikki, or you, Mountain Man, or seeing the chats in the chat, So this can be used as a really good thing.
It's true. You're right.
And it gives new meaning to the shot that was heard around the world, With this, like I said, there might not be somebody in here right now, and maybe there is, that's just like when that one lawyer said, release the Kraken.
Yep.
Well, if you look at Kraken, that's actually a military intelligence group that monitors different things. And if the elections were tampered with, they know it. You know, they knew it. And even back in 2016, if you go back and look at that, the Democrats were complaining the same thing that the Republicans are now. They were saying, "Oh, it was rigged. You know, look, you can have this plugged in here, and look, you know." They were saying the same thing. So I believe a lot of this is everybody has to go through this and realize, you know, wow, things can be manipulated. Wow, there are bad people in this world. Wow, you know, um, and I've always, this is my favorite saying, how can I change this world? I start with myself. Meaning, you know, if somebody comes up to me and they want to start talking race, I walk away.
Yeah.
You know, race is, to me, why is it the human being is the only thing where the word race is used? Like as though, you know, we came from different planets or someplace, you know?
Right. Right. Hmm.
I'm just looking through the chats and see
That's what I was doing.
what's going on.
I don't know. I remember growing up, like, you know, like every household probably only had one television in the house. You know, we didn't have a television in every room like we do today. And there was only maybe what, 6, 8 channels you could watch. But my mom would never let us sit in front of that TV all night.
Right.
You know, it was like, okay, you've had enough TV, go outside and play.
Be home before dark.
Right. When those street lights come on, you know.
Or you'll
And
be
she-
sorry.
Yep. And she used to call it the idiot box. That's what my mom called the TV. So she was on to something.
But I'm very optimistic. I believe we're going to get through this. You know, don't let the world drag you into doing something stupid. You know, that's like, you know, oh, let's pick up our guns and let's go kill these people. It's like, no. Let's think about this a minute. You know?
I had a friend of mine who used to deliver milk from in the mountains. He had a mule and a wagon, and he would come down off mountains with his mule, pulling a cart, delivering milk. And in the 1930s, he started working for what was called White Westinghouse. And what they used to do, they used to have, instead of an alternator on a car, they used to be generators. Not a lot of people know that. They would generate electricity like the household instead of 12 volt, like a modern alternator. And he worked for White Westinghouse, and he would go around with a vacuum. And he'd go to these hinterlands out in the country or even towns. Electric was not by any means everywhere. You had towns that I bought a number of houses that still had piping in there for gas lights. You had gas lanterns in your home, and there wasn't electricity. Well, he'd show up and he'd say, you know, look at this gadget. He'd go plug up into his vehicle with the generator running, and he'd vacuum the carpet. Well, that's wonderful. Well, White Westinghouse had a program where if you signed up to have your house electrified, you would get one.
You get a vacuum?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because people didn't want, why do I need that for? I've got light with gas. Well, you know, I can cook in my gas stove. I can cook. That's why they want to get rid of gas.
Everything we have. Just like Nikolai Tesla. You know, he was inventing different things, DC current and different stuff like that. And the whole idea or concept of being able to draw energy from the atmosphere. It was Morgan, I believe, who told him, I believe it was Morgan, who said, if we can't put a meter on it, we're not going to support it. So there is technology, and even if you look back through history, there was electric cars a long time ago. There was all kinds of stuff. Even archaeologists have found things, and a lot. That's where you get this whole alien thing. It's like, no, these were human beings. They were really smart people back then, probably smarter than we are now. That they had things. They developed things. A lot of things, I believe too. That's the same people now who want the control and the money and the lavish lifestyles. Time has never changed these people, because they have been able to change their identities and blend in, and hey, I'm one of you, bro, and it's like, no, you're a wolf in sheep clothing. People can't see that. That's why you can't really judge a person. Don't judge a book by its cover, because you really don't know the true motive or what theology is in that person's head, or what lurks in his heart. They can be, and that the devil is a master of disguises and deception. He's not going to come to you as a big fire breathing dragon. He's going to come up to you in a way that you'd be like, oh wow, hey, cool, bro.
Well, he's the biggest deceiver and liar.
Yeah. And that's what people should be able to see that right now. You can't really trust these people, but I trust in humanity, and I trust most of all in my God, my creator, Jesus Christ. I believe that, and I know we're going to get through this. I know there are people in the right places doing the right thing. And I believe they're the ones behind this great awakening, that we're going through. And we have to see that, there are these evilness, and this is things, and maybe that helped explain to people why we are and have to go through what we are,
Yeah.
Well, the main thing that shows you there is an ongoing operation is that Trump won 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Every news organization was putting out that that Hillary was 95 to 99% shoo-in all through the election cycle process. They put out every bit of garbage they could against Trump. They hit him with everything, including this kitchen sink, and he won. That means they overrode the system they were using, that there was military involvement. And that's proof in the pudding right there. And it's like that post I read. What if she'd won? Where would we be right now?
Well, let me ask you this, Mountain Man. So why didn't they do the same thing for the next election, for the 2020 election?
What would anybody have learned?
Okay. All right.
Plus, they put out a bioweapon.
This is true.
And
two, that's like when we look at J6, I believe J6 was necessary. That's why you get so much, hey, come on in, but yet, oh, this was a terrorist thing, or hey, come on in. But I believe it was necessary, because with a insurrection now, that triggered military authorities, and also by doing that, it incriminated more people. It's not so much, because we all seen, it just seemed fake. It seemed staged, but people weren't aware of that. You had real Trump supporters out there, just went there to be with their president and support the president, but then it turned all to crap. But then you see people changing clothes. You see the police were actually involved in it. We get, FBI was there. There was actually some military in there. And, it's kind of like, wow. I believe really, the military is in control. And the military told both the Democrat and Republican, maybe they're trying out this new AI technology to where it seems as though everybody's going off of a script.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to read this and you need to read that. And you need to act this way and you need to act that way in order so people, and there is that real threat of other countries trying to take down America involved, because you figure if we're against, or the government said, hey, okay, we know the bankers and these people are behind it, and we're taking these, these people who have 300-foot yachts, live in a palace, have several jet airplanes. They can have anything they want at the snap of their finger. They don't want to lose that. They're going to say, hey, we don't really go with this agenda. So now you got people, I believe that too. Some of what these fires and these railroads and stuff like that, maybe it's not our military doing it, but it's to show the infiltration that has been here, and it could have been worse. Where was that?
It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse.
That's like, where was that train headed? We know there was a nuclear power plant close by. Was this really going to happen further up and actually blow up?
I had heard on that, John, that there was and now I don't remember that it was an Exxon Mobil or some kind of plant down there. And I think that's where the train was heading. But what gets me is a month before that train derailed, they handed out those medical bracelets to that town. I'm thinking, now this is just me thinking, that they handed out those bracelets because that Exxon Mobil or whatever's down there, they just opened it too in September of last year. They were trying to see what kind of poisons they were putting out in the air for them. So that's why they gave the people in Ohio the bracelets. That's just my thoughts. And then the train derailed. So why the train derailed, I don't know. But that's just me thinking.
The real truth, I don't think we'll know. But everything, because like when you look at even the name East Palestine, that's kind of like taking you over to the Middle East and the conflicts that are happening over there. And over there you have the jihads. They don't like Americans.
No.
No, I think what's happening is as far as the train wreck, there were 4 cars that the holes had not been penetrated. There was nothing leaking out. Why they did that burn? You got to look at the thought that a lot of people have put forth that that controlled burn was really meant to dispense airborne chemicals on top of what had been released into waterways. So I don't know if that's the case, I'm just saying, but I'm talking about the overall operation. The overall operation is to let the American people know J6 is a cog in the machine, a cog, to show people how far they will.
We lost Mountain Man, I think.
Oh, no. He keeps getting a bad signal here.
But like everything people should be questioning, and people should be looking. I mean, like I said, you can look at like that East Palestine, and even the product itself. It was used to make PVC, and it's very volatile, meaning it should have never been on a train anyway.
Am
Right.
I breaking up? Am I
You're
coming in
back.
clear now?
Yep.
Now
you're
you
back.
are. You were gone.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry about that. What was mostly on those cars were pellets, pelletized plastics. Um, but anyway, my point was that because it's getting late now, J6 things show J6 is just a cog in the whole machine, but it's showing the people how far they'll go and how desperate they are that they will end people's lives. Look at Ashley, look at Boylan, Miss Boylan, and we're going to find out what happened with those 4 officers who committed what-aside. We're going to find out a lot about that stuff. It's going to come out, and it's got to come out in drips and drabs for people to grasp it. But the bottom line is what Trump said. The establishment clause, establishing a religion. And I got one more post here I think you all would want to hear. Follow the bloodlines.
I think he's gone again. Mountain Man. You got a horrible connection.
Okay, wait a second. Am I back now?
You're back now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got to switch my screen from what I'm reading. I'm sorry. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. But anyway, the first one was the bloodlines, like John was talking about, right?
Yep.
And then next is what is the keystone? And I went over that in another broadcast. Keystone. Everybody went through hours and hours of going through posts, not, present company excluded. I'm talking about all these other channels I've watched. They say, what do they mean by keystone? Oh, it's this, it's that. It said it right in the early post. The key is the NSA and the military. And the stone is Trump and the people. That's the keystone. Okay. Does Satan exist? Does the thought of Satan exist? Now that those two lines there, or if you talk to somebody, you say, "Does Satan exist?" Say, if you talk to a normie, they go, "I don't think he does." Well, does the thought of Satan exist? Of course it does. And then, who worships Satan? What is a cult? And then the next thing it brings up is E Island, no ep. And then the second part is steam. What is a temple? What occurs in a temple? Worship? Question mark. Why is a temple on top of a mountain? Well, I've already talked about what happened at the temple in the Aztec community, right? Sacrifices. Why is a temple on top of a mountain? How many levels might exist below? We know there were multiple levels. What is the significance of the colors, design, and symbol of the above dome? And I can get into that research, but what I'm saying is this post is showing us what we're up against. We're up against another religion besides one that fears and acknowledges God. Why is this relevant? That's why it's relevant. We're dealing with people who worship Satan. Who are the puppet masters? Have the puppet master traveled to this island? When, how often, and why? They've gone there for what? For rituals at certain times of the year, just like with the Aztecs. Okay, when Cortez and them were thought they were making ground, explaining, 10 Commandments and stuff like that. But when their certain time of the year came, they had the mass sacrifices. Okay, that started conflict between the conquistadors. All right. And this post ends with a quote from Vladimir Putin. Okay. And it's very simple. The New World Order worships Satan. This is what we've got to get people to understand, whether they believe in God or not, whether they're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever. The bottom line is the people that are trying to institute a new world order, who have influenced our media, have control over our politicians, are in control of the financial institutions, drug cartels, criminal enterprises. They come from bloodlines that worship Satan.
Okay, just so you know, so I want you to read that. That's not what he said, but it was not what Mountain Man said. He never said that Russia.
Somebody said.
He says NATO is the New World Order, not Russia. He never said Russia was.
I never said Russia was. I said that Vladimir Putin's quoted saying, "The New World Order worships Satan." That's what I was reading directly from a 17 post.
Yeah.
Made 4 or 5 years ago, way before.
I just wanted to set the record straight. That's not what you said.
Yeah, who said that?
Let me see.
Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer. There you go.
And putting that in capital letters, especially, and not putting any numbers for vowels in NWO, spelling it out, put it out there. You're not supposed to do that. Are they new to the chats?
Yeah. That's all right. Just, when you're using words that are trigger words or anything that can get me in trouble, just use a number for a vowel so it throws off the algorithms. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I shared several links in the private, and I've been putting them in the other chat too. But
yeah, I'll definitely grab them out of the private when we get done here. And you guys grab what John Dunning's dropping, and if you guys want to do some research, he's got some good stuff there.
The one is called Insurrection. Just to show that the army, the military, is actually on it. They actually doing an exercise and have been. It goes back to Kennedy. When Kennedy made his famous statement about shattering it in 1,000 pieces, I believe everything was getting put in place. And it's taken a while to get everything, because you don't want these little people, you want to cut the head of the snake off. And I believe that's why it's taken so long. That's why we had to go through the things we have.
You got to dismantle their support structure. We get all these characters like Hillary and all these people, all their minions below them and all the creepos above them will just go right into the woodwork. Mm-hmm. And if I can, Nikki, I'll read that post about JFK.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if everybody's heard this before. In January 10th of 2018, okay, this is a very early post. The board was only up for about a little over 4 months. 2/10/18. Rest in peace, Mr. President. Parentheses JFK. Through your wisdom and strength, since your tragic death, patriots have planned, installed, and by the grace of God, activated the beam of capital letters light. We will forever remember your sacrifice. May you look down from above and continue to guide us as we ring the bell of capital letters freedom and destroy those who wish to sacrifice our children, our way of life, and our world. We, capital letters, the people, prayer said every day, every single day in the Oval Office. JFK's secret societies, where we go one and we know the rest of it, we go all. This was a prayer that we were told was said every day in the Oval Office. In January 2018, we were told that prayer was said every single day of Donald Trump's term.
Wow.
This stuff was activated and began at the time of his assassination. This particular plan, JFK had a plan. He put out, I showed a picture of currency that he ordered put out that took the name Federal Reserve off of a $5 bill. I got one in my hands my mother saved. And he said he was going to take the C.I.A. and smash it to 1,000 pieces. So he was going after them. But they had no idea that they would have such power and reach that they could do what they did to JFK in front of the entire world. And then that there were so many people in the civilian part of government that would coordinate and work together to cover it up. That's when they began this program that we're on right now.
Why do you think when Mr. T had, he could have, why didn't he release those documents on JFK?
He said the American people aren't ready for it. We don't want chaos. We don't want violence. We don't want civil unrest. People are getting to the point now where they're getting ready to accept that what was released upon the world in this country was not an accident, and it was done for political purposes, to destroy civilization and to take control of civilization. That's what we got to get people to understand. And it'll be much easier to be able to put two and two together with the assassination of Kennedy. Once they realize what they did on J6, how desperate, what they're willing to do, the lengths they'll go to put on a show and fool the world and take over a government. That's what they did. And that they would go so far as to release a BIO weapon on the populace to shut down the economy and prepare us for a new world order. That's what's going on right now.
And two, there was a saying, and it might have been the 17th letter, the truth can't be told. It has to be learned.
It's got to be shown. You can't tell people, you have to show them.
But I think that's a big thing right now is, we're getting drip fed this and that, and we're being shown, just because somebody's a Republican or a Democrat doesn't necessarily mean they're not a rhino or, for another country or for the banking institutions or, what their real motives are, And I think everybody's starting to realize these things. And had, like, the things right now, everybody in chat and everybody here, if somebody was to told you this, say, 6 years ago, and, they just came out and just started blurting this out, you'd be like, oh, get out of here. No way.
Well, if they had told me 10 years ago Joe Biden be president, I'd say no way. If they told me 10 years ago 70% of the country would be walking around with pieces of paper over their face and that they'd be forcing those things in your arm, in Australia and Brazil and all over the place. I say you're crazy. People ain't going to put up with that.
Right.
But it's the power of a psyop, and I'll get into that tomorrow night. Power of a psyop. But what people are learning now, you talk about rhinos. You say who knows what their motivations are. Here's another one that I said the other day. Read carefully. Reread carefully. Okay. What do these people have in common? Pelosi's son, Kerry's son, Romney's son, Biden's son. Hint, geolocation, Ukraine. Hint, energy. Coincidence? When GS calls Georgie Porgy Soriosio, the D's always answer. Nothing can stop what? We all know what is coming. Nothing. So way before the Ukraine situation, way before Putin's invading, all those people were put on blast. Their sons, senators, Speaker of the House of Representatives, President of the United States' son, all were put out on by the 17th letter. Now we need to tell people that. All the sons mentioned have huge interests and are funneling money from Ukrainian energy companies into the money into the United States. They all got a stake in Ukraine. That's why they're going over there trying to keep Putin out. Now we're going to find out through the Fauci files who else has a stake in keeping Ukraine from being taken over.
You want to see something that's a trip?
Yeah.
Go to your search bar and type in ANTI and you know the rest.com.
I know. Yeah, I know. Goes to the White House.
Yeah.
Goes to the White House. I showed where I put that word in Atlanta and CIFA, okay? The screen was blank. I showed it on my program. I said, here's what my search came up with. GOOGLE. A blank screen, nothing.
So they're trying to tell us without telling us, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is figuring it out, looking at it from different perspectives, and even though we might not have somebody telling us these things, we're learning these things, you know.
Well, you guys, I'm running on almost 2.5 hours here. Do you guys want to have
Yeah,
some?
we're going way over.
Way over. But it was great discussions tonight. I loved every minute of it. Oh, there goes Mountain Man. We'll wait for him to come back, John.
If you don't mind, I'd like to end with a prayer.
Of course. I would love that.
Is Mountain Man coming back?
Yeah, he'll come back. He's back already. I'll go final thoughts, and then you can end with a prayer if you'd like.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to go first, Mountain Man, with your final thoughts?
I'm sorry, I keep dropping off. Well, I just my final thoughts are, I think we're gonna distill it down to something simple, as the old saying goes, KISS, where we can uniformly and rationally explain to newbies and people waking up what's going on. It's the choice between God and Satan, and there are people in control of our systems, as we're being shown, that worship something other than God. There's only one person, one way of thinking that can be against God, and that's Satan.
That's right.
So, and indifference. So, we got to get it simple. We got to keep just the information simple and put it out there for our normal friends. That's what I'm hoping for.
Okay.
And
What
I
about
want to thank everybody for listening to me in the chats. A lot of you I've never seen before, and if I bark at anybody, just don't mind me.
What about you, John? You got any final thoughts?
When the world gets too much, step out of it and step into the Word. Read the Bible, get out in nature, enjoy what God has created and blessed us with in this life. You know, be in thought with the Creator. You'll learn. He'll guide you. He'll maybe strengthen your belief. You know, I've gone from belief to actually just knowing. You know, it's awesome when you can look out at this beautiful world. This is a beautiful picture that God has put out for us to enjoy and be a part of. We've lost that. You know, you look at the trees and the animals and the bugs and everything. They work in unison, in harmony. We're the only thing out of whack. We sometimes we follow our greed and our what we've been told and different things like that. But this is a beautiful world, and we can make it a better place. We might never achieve heaven on earth, but I believe we can get it a lot better than what we're doing. You know.
Amen. Amen.
Thanks for dropping my link, Nikki. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. I dropped yours too, John. Well, my final thought is this. I loved having all of you on tonight. I could listen to you guys talk all night. You guys are just a profligate, just so much knowledge. I don't know where you guys store it all, but I've learned so much from you guys tonight, and I hope the chat has learned something new tonight too. And I appreciate everybody coming tonight. And John wants to end with a prayer. So if everybody will stick around and say a prayer real quick, and we'll end the show.
Like I always say, you know, as I pray, say your prayer. God loves to hear from you. He's up there. He's got his ears open. He loves to hear from you. Dear Heavenly Father, I'd like to take this time above all just to give you the praise and the glory that you so deserve, dear Lord. Lord, be with us as we go on our journey through the weekend and through the workday. Help guide us, guide our minds, touch our hearts. Help us to become more of a Christian than what we are. Help us to improve our lives. Help us to reach out to the others who are lost in this world. Be the beacon of light, dear Lord. Just be our guidance and give us the strength and the will to carry on and do as your will requires us to do, dear Lord. Dear Lord, be with Mike C. He asked for a special prayer for his wife. Be with him and his family, dear Lord, in this time. Be with all the people in the chat and on the panel. Just help us, dear Lord. These things we ask in your Holy Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Don't forget to set your clocks forward. We're springing forward.
Yep. Well, I appreciate it. Appreciate John. Appreciate it very much, Nikki. And I might go up live tomorrow night. I'll see. If not, tomorrow, Monday night.
Okay. Well, I appreciate both of you very much, and thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Mountain Man.
Thank you, buddy.
Chat.
Thanks, chats.
Have a blessed night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Love y'all.